Hey everybody. Today we're going to look at toric and master planning. So, um, this came about because a few weeks ago Stantec made a post about seeing their data, visualizing it, and visualizing like master plans. And I've done work at a previous employer. I have worked on process or workflows on using Revit and master planning or campus planning, and I thought, because recently I've been playing with Toric, how if I could get the data from Revit into Toric, how that would be much more interactive for a client and for other team members, and being able to visualize the data and interact with it, I think is much more effective. And so I've done some testing, and it actually works out very well. Now, here's the article from Stantec, and I'll post it below in the description. Now, I'm not a master planner, nor am I a campus planner. I've only worked with them from the perspective of technology with Revit and other tools, and kind of just built out the workflow and how they would use Revit within it. At my previous employer, Stantec, I didn't work at Stantec, but by seeing this article, I thought Toric and Revit, how those could come together and create a really cool interactive dashboard for visualizing this kind of information. Now, I'm not a master planner, so I'll try to give you kind of a brief background of what it is. But essentially, it's a very visual field. It's meant for visualizing the the campus plan and the different buildings associated with that plan, and looking at the general usage of those buildings. And so, like in this case, we can see the colors. Each of those colors could represent different usages, so such as open office, HR, stuff like that. And you would project that out 10, 20 years to understand where the campus may be in that time frame, so that a owner could understand that, and then make a plan for what they want to do next or how they want to go forward. Now, that's just from my perspective. I don't work in that field, and so I would recommend just looking into, if that's something that you're interested in. There's plenty of resources. I would look into other resources and read those. This article does talk about that a little bit on what master planning is, and so I definitely recommend reading this if that's something that you're interested in. Now, from my perspective, which is a technology side, I look at this, I'm like, wow, like with Revit, if we create a effective workflow, we could easily bring this into Toric. And then with Toric's, like, if you create a data flow and you consistently have the same like project parameters inside of your Revit model, then you could create a pretty standard process for creating these dashboards. Because after you create a data flow inside of Toric, which we'll look at a data flow, but when you create that, it's there, and it's very easy to create a new project with the same data flow and have a different same dashboard set up. So you could create a template and then apply it to all your projects. So just to get straight into it, I've got a Revit model here. The way that I've done this is I've got masses that I've set up. Now, these masses over here are just for context. So all of these ones. These ones in here, what I've done is I created floors from the masses. Now, those floors are just, they're split by the levels, and then what I've done is I've extruded I've just changed the thickness of the floor to 10 feet so that it captures the entire floor there, the entire level, just like you saw in that inside of that Stantec article. And then from there, what I've done is I've split it by parts. All right, so the parts, what I can do is assign a parameter to it. So we click on it. I've got a usage parameter, and it's called storage. And this, or not the parameter is called usage. What I have associated with it is storage. Now, if we click over here, we'll see that this is facilities. So a portion of this building is facilities, and another portion is storage. Down here, this is HR. Over here is the Revit building, and this is the labs. Now, in the comments, I just used what the building is, like what's the name of that building, what the building type is, and so that's where I put that. And we can use those parameters to create some pretty cool tables, some visuals, some forge, or not forge, but some actual model visuals as well, very easily inside of Toric. So Toric actually couldn't push parts up originally, and I reached out to them and talked to them about this workflow and how if I had that ability, I could really create some pretty cool stuff. Now, I know through Dynamo there's ways that there's a variety of other ways I could have went about this, but to me this is very straightforward, and I think an easy workflow for an end user. And so I reached out to Toric, and they were nice enough to actually build that ability into Toric to push the parts data and model information into Toric. So now it's available in there, and we can actually visualize and see that data. So to actually push the data, that's pretty easy. I've shown that in the other video I've done on Toric. But if you click the add-in, you can select the different categories. In this case, we only have masses, floors, and parts. But you can choose a bunch of different stuff. Parts is under sub-elements. Also down here, you want to make sure to export your Revit 3D geometry. So I'm not going to send this. I've already got data up there. And so let's just jump into Toric and actually look at what's going on in here. So to the left, I've got my data flow. To the right, I've got my my actual dashboard. Now, this dashboard, the way that we're seeing it now, isn't the way that a client would see it, or how like your other team members would see it after you shared it. And if you want to see what that looks like, I'll actually post this link below in the description, and you can open up this dashboard and even interact with it and see how that workflow works for you. So check out this link if that's something you want to look at. So, so what I've got here is, and let me actually delete this, and I wanted to show you guys. So this node here, there's two nodes. This one is set to fixed, which is version 8. That's the one that we're going to look at. This one is set to dynamic, and you do have a few options: latest, previous, and yesterday. I typically use this one just so that I never have to update it. But for now, I've set it to version 8 because I know exactly what data is in there. And then from there, I chose my elements, which in this case was just the floor, parts, and the mass. I don't need the levels or any of the other elements. And now I've got two different flows, I guess you would call them. And what I really like about Toric is just how intuitive it is. I use Power BI. I can use that pretty well, but when I used Toric, it was really, it surprised me just how quick it took from knowing nothing to actually building it. Now I know I do have experience with other tools like it, but I do think there is a much lower barrier to get into this tool compared to other options. One of the cool things is like if we click on filter, or sorry, actually if we come over here and click on the visual in our dashboard, we can see this little transparent blue dashed line that connects from the viewer to the node. And to me, that's just, it's very clear on where that data is coming from. So in this case, it's all we're doing is we're filtering and we're grabbing the floors. Now, we're grabbing the floors because in this view, what we want to do is just see the overall buildings on the site. And then you can see the context, so you can see the other buildings. And then each building is just represented as one color. Which brings me to the properties of your different visuals. So we've got the table down here, and then there are certain properties associated with it. Well, in the viewer, same thing. So if we don't have color checked, it'll just turn everything gray. So in this case, I've checked color, and then I've associated the comments parameter to how it's actually coloring things. So again, if we click, we'll see, and I'll actually have to kind of pan around for this one, but you'll see that, and let me walk through this. So up here we filter, we grab the masses. Down here I break out certain parameters for this table. So in this case it's the name and gross area. And then down here what I'm doing is I'm renaming it. I'm simply just removing the built-in parameter slash. And so that just renames it for the so that it just looks better for the end user that'll be looking at the dashboard. So over here, essentially it's the same thing, except for I break out the parameters that I want to see in this table. And then down here, I'm doing some edits to the columns, and you can change the types as well. And then I'm renaming the columns, and then further down, I'm actually reordering the columns. Now I'm still learning Toric, but this was one thing that if you had a bunch of columns, it could be difficult to try to reorder them. But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward and intuitive. So it was easy to get it in the order I needed it. And so there's the reorder column. Again, if we select on that, we can actually see where it's coming from, which is this group by. So we're grouping by building name, and then that's what we're seeing here. And then there's just some other visuals I just wanted to show you guys. There's a lot of options. So if you come up here and add, there's a lot of different things that you can do. Also, if you just drag into here, and that blue line is just representing where it's going to come in. So if we want it side by side, we could do it there. Or if we want it just below it, we could do it there. And then you can choose any visual. It's pretty straightforward. So the other, and actually, you know, going back to the ad, it would be nice to search this. But right now you have to scroll through it and find, you know, the model viewer. But there's not many, so it wouldn't take you very long, especially if you use this quite a bit, to understand where these are. But if you are a new user and you don't get in here very often, it could be a bit tedious. So just a heads up on that. So let's actually build something. So over here, what we're going to do, because what we're missing from this dashboard is the usage. Like, I want to see my plan, and I want to see the usage of the buildings. So what we'll do is create, and let me delete this because we'll just start from scratch. So I'm going to add a model viewer to this. We'll do two things. We'll add a model viewer, but we'll also filter or create a table as well. So let's create a filter. And actually, I'm just going to copy. I'm going to change this to parts. And now that's our parts data. Now, if I pull this in, you'll see that, and actually we need to click on this first, come over here to properties, select the column. In this case, we want to see the usage. And you'll see that if we select on this, and let's close the properties, just so we have more room. We'll expand this out. You'll see here that there's some other items overlapping each other. Now we'll need to filter those out. That's pretty easy. All we have to do is change this to an and, add a condition, come down here to select column, and then we just need to go to the usage, come down here and say if it is not empty, and then that will filter it all out. Now, the way that you could figure that out is actually to jump into the data inspector, which will actually show you the data. So if we click on any of these nodes, it'll show us what data we're looking at. So I actually find this super helpful. And by clicking on that, what I can do is scroll through here and then find my my fields. Now, if we actually remove this and, you'll see that we have these empties. And what these are the just overall floors, and we don't need those. We want to filter those out. So by looking at this data inspector, I can then come in here, say, okay, well, if that's the case, and there's a way for me to filter that out, and that's by using the usage parameter, then let's add that to the filter and then filter it out, and it's pretty easy. And then back here, we can easily see, just like the view you saw in Stantec, it's like, boom, it's right here. You can interact with it, but then it isn't limited to just rotating it around. It also, the data associated with that information, you can, highlight certain things. And then if you use design options, you could even switch between different options. So it's very, I think, a much more practical and effective workflow than just using like Revit or just PDFs. All right, so now what we need to do is create a table. So we'll break out, and what we can do is actually just click that plus button, and we'll search for breakout, which is going to pull out certain columns. And then what we want to grab is the comments, which will have like our building name in it. We'll want the area, and then let's just grab the usage as our last. All right, now what we can do is pull this down. We'll see that blue line there that will show us where it's going to drop. And then for this one, we'll just do a table. And then that looks cool. That's nice. But maybe what we want to do is actually group that. And that's pretty easy too. And so we'll do group by, just like we saw in the other flow. So we'll do group by. And I don't know if you saw that, but so there's the plus symbol that we'll highlight. But also if you just pull and then let go, it'll actually pop that up. And then if I do group by again, you'll see it just automatically connects. So that's kind of cool. So here we'll group by our building types. You'll see nothing updated because all we got to do is just plug in this. You can see if we select on it, we get that blue transparent line that is connected into this node, which represents what at the time, through that flow, what has happened to that data. And again, we can look at that data by looking at the inspector, which will tell us how that's actually going to look inside of that table before we connect anything into the dashboard. So pretty clear, like this is nice, like we can easily see the usages to the right here. So we can see, oh, this is a gym. That's cool, and it's all grouped together. And then here's a weight room, storage, and facilities. Now, I didn't make up all of these like usage types. I don't even know if I'm using the right terminology when I'm describing that, but I think you get the idea. So like here we've got the library. This is library A. We've got office, just the general library, facilities, HR. So that is kind of it. So what I'm going to do is share this dashboard below in the description. Feel free to click that link and then interact with the dashboard. Do whatever you want with it. I would love if you had any feedback on how you would want this to be built out. I would gladly add whatever to make this better. So, because there's things like we could create drop downs that allow you to interact with or change the versions. There's a lot of different functionality I can add to this. So if you have ideas, let me know, and I would love to try them. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.